What's up, guys? So The Boys is finally over. So we are going to be ranking my top 10 favorite characters in The Boys. I want to preface by saying this is just my list. This is just my ranking. You can have a different ranking. Comment down below your top 10 and we will discuss it afterwards. Let's get right into it. I also do want to say that there will be possible spoilers. So if you've not finished the series, maybe skip over certain things because I don't want to hold back on anything I want to say on these characters. The show is over. We're ranking my top 10. I also didn't rewatch the entire series going into this finale. I only watched bits and pieces, highlights, maybe a couple episodes from Season 3, the finale of Season 2, the finale of Season 4, before I watched Season 5. So my memory on some older characters that didn't make it to Season 5 is a little hazy. So I'm going to give a couple honor mentions for those characters, one being Queen Maeve. I remember really liking Queen Maeve, especially in Season 3, her arc and everything that she did and has done, but she doesn't make it to Season 5, so my memory isn't as fresh. I could definitely see a world where Queen Maeve is in my top 10. Stormfront, even though you hate her, right, she was a very good villain and very memorable villain. Not in my top 10, but worth mentioning in the fact that she was a very intriguing character for her relationship with Homelander and just how awful she is. But coming in at number 10, we have MM, aka Mother's Milk. MM is my number 10 favorite character in The Boys. I like MM. He's cool. He's like one of the boys, right? He's one of the boys that is actually a little bit more masculine, a little bit more tougher and rough around the edges, but grounded, and a little bit more humanistic character, kind of like Huey, but he's someone that isn't afraid of Butcher. Like, he's not afraid to step up to Butcher, where, you know, Frenchie and Huey are kind of punks to Butcher. Like, Butcher can push them around. MM isn't afraid to step to Butcher, so he is a very welcomed character in this show. He's a very family-oriented character. He's got beef with Soldier Boy for what he did to his family, and that's what drives him to do what he does. But he really cares about his daughter and his wife. I forget if they're divorced initially, as we learned in the finale, that they get remarried at the very least, it seems. And then he takes on Ryan, who is, you know, Homelander's son, Butcher's, you know, wife's, Becca's son. Right, so MM is a good, grounded character for the most part. He is solid, but he can't go any higher for me. Coming in at number 9, we have The Deep, aka The Peak, some people will call it. The Deep is funny. You know, he's got a lot of memes, a lot of really funny reels that pop up on the feed. I'm not someone that obviously is super in love with The Deep. Like, he's really some people's favorite character. I get it. I know people personally that absolutely love The Deep and was gassing him up to me before I even started watching the show. He's funny. He's solid. He does make me roll my eyes sometimes, but usually he's the type of character I would love a lot more. But for some reason, I just don't. He's fine. He's solid. He's in my top 10. He has a very, you know, he makes it to the end, and he has a way that he goes out that makes a lot of sense to me. He's a memorable character. He's just not any higher than 9 for me. Coming in at number 8, we have Ashley. Ashley was not in my top 10. I don't even think I had her on my list when I watched The Boys for the first time back when Season 4 came out is when I decided to fully watch The Boys. I knew about the show from the beginning, but I always shelved it and I didn't really care to watch it until basically Season 4 came out. And in my rewatches of some of the episodes that I have watched a lot of reviews and videos of people talking about Ashley and her character arc in Season 5. She's solid, she's pretty funny, she's pretty wacky, she's pretty crazy, and I like that she kind of turns it around and helps the boys in the end essentially defeat Homelander. Without Ashley's contribution, the boys would be over, and they would never even had a chance to stop Homelander. So Ashley gets a lot of props on my end. She's my number 8. Coming in at number 7, we have Newman, Victoria Newman. I think this is a very, very intriguing character. She is a gorgeous woman. She's actually married to Jack Quaid in real life, Huey, which is very, very intriguing because Huey's got such a interesting relationship with Newman throughout this series, where he worked for her and he finds out that essentially she's a soup behind the scenes working in these government type positions. I forget. I believe she becomes the president at a certain point, or she's in the running for it at the very least. And I think she was vice president. Again, I didn't fully rewatch season 4. I only watched the finale, which the finale, she goes out very sad. I was actually pretty pissed at Butcher when he did that because she was ready to be on the boys' side, just like Starlight, but Butcher just kind of rips her apart literally and ruins all that. But her powers are terrifying. She was the one that was just blowing up people's heads in the courtroom when they were trying to discover certain things and make charges against Soups and whatnot. And she just feels like a very nuanced character because the whole series you're like, I feel like she's good, but her powers are so deadly and scary that you can't fully trust her because she could just pop your head in an instant. And in fact, she does to a couple of Butcher's old FBI agent friends. I believe it was FBI. And you really just are always on edge because she can end you in an instant. And it's a shame she didn't make it to season 5 because I think she would have been one of the good guys. And it's a shame that Butcher had to do her sad the way that he did because she did not deserve it. Coming in at number 6, we have A-Train. A-Train is my number 6 favorite character in The Boys. I always liked A-Train. Even from the beginning, I thought there was a lot of interesting qualities about him. And I am just someone that really likes speedsters. I've always been a fan of The Flash, even though we haven't got too many great live-action performances. I love Grant Gustin, don't get me wrong, but it's only in the CW TV series. Haven't seen a great Flash movie portrayal yet. But A-Train himself, along with being a speedster, has such an interesting character arc because he's the one that starts it all essentially in Huey's world and the boys' world by running through Huey's girlfriend, right? Just showing the deadliness of what a speedster can be. That is a scene that I watched of this show years before I ever watched this show because I had a friend that was trying to get me to watch this show, and that was the scene he was trying to convince me to do it. And again, for some reason, I just put it on the shelf and never watched it. But it always stuck with me when I rewatched the show or watched the show for the first time. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. That's pretty nuts. And it comes full circle in the end where he's kind of always showing signs that he wants to turn good. But in the end, he does, and he saves all the boys from Homelander stopping and killing them, and goes on a, running for his life from Homelander. Could have got away, but he's about to make the same mistake and run into another civilian, and he does basically a 360 to stop himself, couldn't control his body, went too fast, and that's how he ends up dying. Not making the same mistake that he does in episode 1, realizing that he cares about each lives, and he's not going to go out that way. He wants to go out a hero, and he confronts Homelander straight to his face. A-Train literally comes from a perfect redemption story of being someone who was awful, the worst, and at his lowest, making mistakes, but always had roots of wanted to be a hero, had good family around him, people that really actually looked up to him when he was putting on the facade, and he wanted to die a hero in the end, and he did. So shout out you, A-Train. Coming in at number 5, we have Starlight. Starlight is my number 5 favorite character in The Boys. She is the original Soup in the 7 that is just straight up good from the start, that wants to go there with pure intentions, find out that everyone else is nowhere as good as her. She realizes that very quickly with the actions that the Deep has against her, and realizes that all the layers start unfolding, that none of these people are good, and this is very, very bad. I also just think that Starlight was very, very attractive in those first couple seasons especially, and I love her relationship with Huey for the most part. There's some weird stuff in season 4, and I mean, this whole show is weird. There's a lot of weird stuff, but Starlight overall is a light for this show, having a Soup that could combat the bad Soups and even the bad humans, essentially Butcher, who always puts doubt to every single Soup, and she is kind of the light in all that, showing that you can't just hate all Soups just because they have superpowers. Some of them want to do good, and she is the reflection of that, and she has a beautiful character arc in the end where she becomes a mother. She's about to become a mother. She's pregnant, and she's off with Huey in the end, and she is now being the hero that she always wanted to be, not working for Vought, not working for the Seven or for publicity. She's just out here living a simple, normal life like a regular superhero who has a relationship and all that, but is out trying to help people when needed. So, shout out you, Starlight. Coming in at number 4, we have Huey. Huey is my number 4 favorite character in The Boys. So, this is my last one in sense of where it's a little bit of a debate. My top 3 are pretty solidified in the space between them. But Huey is my favorite character outside of my main top 3, obviously at 4. Huey is kind of the human crux of this show. He's the anchor. He's almost like the main character in essence, even though I think he's pretty annoying in season 5. Some people think he's annoying in certain other seasons, but in season 5, he's pretty annoying the entire time, up and really to the finale, where, eventually he is the one to put Butcher to an end, and Butcher gives him grace and all of that, which I really love, and tells him, it's okay, I was never going to stop. You had to do this. Letting Huey know that the fact that even though we've been through all this stuff, and I've put you through all this stuff, Butcher said, you have never stopped being good in your heart. You never stopped being yourself and wanted the best for other people. And that puts a good perspective on him and the show as a whole. Having a character grounded like that even with all this wickedness and evil and just crazy stuff that goes on in this universe, you have someone that's still trying to look for the good in people and help people the best he can with the resources around him. Now, I want to say my top 3 is very interchangeable. I like/love all 3 of these characters to some degree, but we gotta rank them. So here it is. Coming in at number 3, we have Homelander. Homelander is my number 3 favorite character in The Boys. There's part of me that wants to put him number 2, and in essence, he is the best character. He has the best performance, Anthony Starr, one of the greatest villains of all time. One of the greatest villain portrayals of all time. He's right up there with Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, Heath Ledger's Joker, Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, right? I could go on and on, but Anthony Starr is really up there with some of the greats. He's just that good. I think he is just a menace. He is so crazy. He's so unhinged. You never know what to expect from him. And him put on this persona as this evil Superman, like a Superman that seems like he's Superman to the public, but he's really not. And he's just the most evil, maybe the most evil superhero in essence overall, at least the most prideful, most egotistical, and just insane. And Anthony Starr's performance of Homelander in the end, when he finally loses his powers and has to be a human, just really showing his acting chops that you really feel like he was human in that moment, and it fit for his character to be pathetic in the way that he was. Some people are complaining how pathetic he was. It made sense to me. To me, it just would have made more sense before that happened if he flew a little faster. I do think the fight and all that stuff was a little rushed, and the power scaling for his character is a little off at times. But overall, Homelander is a fantastic villain. He is the most important character to this show, even though he's not my number 1 favorite character. He is fantastic. Coming in at number 2, we have Butcher. Butcher is my number 2 favorite character in The Boys. I will say that he is pretty frustrated in Season 4 overall because he's going so bad. And they kind of go away from that in the beginning of Season 5. Like I said, I was really mad at him killing Newman the way that he did. But they don't really play off that, rawness of him in the beginning of Season 5. You thought they would have played off that more, but he kind of goes back to a little bit more normal Butcher and essentially gets redeemed in the end. You feel like you want to root for him against Homelander in that moment. But overall, the show as a whole, he's such an important character. He is the one who is the driving force, the one who is the most determined to take down Homelander and all the soups, all the evil soups in the world. And he does it. And he shows the drive and determination when everyone doubted him and nobody believed in him. He did everything possible to make that happen. And Butcher's just got aura. He's tough. He's he's oi. You know what I mean? Like, everything about him is just a very interesting and intriguing character. I love his dynamic and relationship with Huey. Like, looking at that humanistic character who's trying to bring him back to himself, but Butcher himself cannot stop himself from becoming the monster that essentially he was meant to be because he's so broken by all the loss and tragedy throughout his life that there was no point of any return, and he's gone down such a dark path that, like I said with the Huey topic, he was never going to stop, and that's why he couldn't let it go. When he lost Terror, when Ryan wasn't going to stay with him, he already lost Becca, when he had nothing left for himself besides the mission of taking out Homelander, he didn't know what to do with himself. He couldn't retire. He had to keep hunting, and that was the only way he was going to go out was by death, sadly, and his death was a fitting and an emotional death with Huey. So, shout out Butcher. Very important character. There's times he's way more frustrating to me than other characters, and he could be lower, but in the grand scheme of things, he's way too important not to be this high. But coming in at number 1, we have Soulja Boy. Soulja Boy is my favorite character in The Boys. I gotta say, I'm very, very, very biased with Jensen Ackles. Supernatural is one of my all-time favorite shows ever. Like, it was one of the main real shows outside of like growing up watching sitcoms or cartoons or Teen Nick and stuff like that. It's not the very first show that I watched, but it's in like my first 5 real shows, not sitcoms or anything like that, with real deep and long storylines that I fell in love with, so it means a lot to me. And Jensen Ackles' character as Dean Winchester was my favorite character in that show. Jensen Ackles just got an aura about him. He's just cool, man. He just is. And him coming in as Soulja Boy, I was so hyped for. Everything in season 3, especially, he's just cool. He's the only guy that can really step to Homelander without a single fear in his heart, really. So even Butcher, who you got to give him props because, he wasn't afraid to step to Homelander when he was human. And Homelander was Homelander, right? And he, give Butcher props, but Soulja Boy literally was never scared. Butcher was definitely scared at certain points for his life, which makes sense. He didn't have powers. But Soulja Boy did not care what Homelander had to say. He didn't care what nobody had to say. He just left it all out there, and he was hilarious. Jensen Ackles' line delivery was just straight comedic genius, and everything that he does in season 5 when Homelander is very interesting and intriguing also. And I felt like the interesting thing about Soulja Boy is you never really know if he's going to be a good guy or a bad guy. He's put in this weird spectrum of there's elements of him that seem honorable, like he wants to be good, but he's messed up with his own sin and his own nature and his own mistakes and just the world. I mean, the world they live in, it's almost impossible to be perfect, so it makes a lot of sense for him to be just as rugged and dirty and all the things that he is. It's hard to remember. I'm sure we're going to go deep into it in Vault Rising, which I'm excited about because he's my favorite character, so I will watch that show solely for him. But I just really, really like Soulja Boy as a character. He's just got mad aura. He's cool. He's tough. It's impossible not to like him, in my opinion, and he's funny. And again, he doesn't take nothing from anybody. I really like his, he has an X factor about him. The power that he has in his chest that can essentially wipe the V out of any soup around him makes him so deadly. Even if he's not as powerful as Homelander or as certain other people, or he can't fly or can't do certain things, the fact that he has that power makes him dangerous for anybody in his path. And I'm so glad in the end, even though I do think his ending was very odd, and they basically just set him up to basically be put on the shelf because they didn't want to include him in the finale because he's too powerful and too impactful of a character that they just wanted to make it about Butcher and Homelander. There's no way you could have included him in the finale and not made an impact. He can't be a side character. He's too important. So I think they shelved him for that reason, but I also think they shelved him so they can keep him on ice, literally, to where when they go back in time with Vault Rising and that show, if it becomes a hit, I can see a world where they bring Jensen Ackles back as Soulja Boy in the future, like the new timeline, and make him be essentially the new Homelander, the new face of the show. I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know if it'll work out. I don't think that they should bring any of the boys' characters back. Maybe it'll use the Gen V characters. I didn't really watch Gen V, but they kind of got sidelined in the show and they did nothing. So maybe it'll make them the new characters that are going to fight Soldier Boy. I don't know. But I think they see money with Jensen Ackles. They know he's got a diehard, you know, following that won't give up on him, especially because of Supernatural. So they know with Homelander gone that they still have something very unique and special with Soldier Boy. So they're keeping it up in air with him by not killing him off. But that's my top 10. Leave a comment down below your top 10. I will say, as a whole, I do not fully love The Boys. I don't fully love this show. So if my ranking does seem a little odd, that's kind of why. I'm not someone who's a diehard fan of this show and these characters. It's just something I've watched. I watched it a couple years ago, like I said, and I didn't even feel that compelled to rewatch the entire show. It's also a very exhausting show, so that's also partially why. I love season 3. Again, I'm a Soldier Boy guy, as you can tell, so you can see why I like that. And I liked season 5 because Soldier Boy is a big part of it. When I thought he was going to die in that first 2 episodes, whatever it was, I was like, damn, that kind of sucks. I get it, but I'm like, that kind of sucks. So when he came back, I'm like, let's go, that's sick. So I like these characters, or I like this show, but I don't love it. Soldier Boy is probably the only one where I'm like, yeah, I love him. Homelander obviously is awesome too. And in theory, Homelander probably should be my number 2, because when talking about the show, I'm probably going to talk about Soldier Boy and Homelander, not really Butcher. But if I really think about paying attention to the show, it makes sense to me. But I could easily swap my number 2 and number 3. Soldier Boy is probably the only one where I'm like, that's my number 1. But again, I have bias. So subscribe to see more content on this channel. If you want to see my full Season 5 finale review, I have a video of that. Like this video, comment. I'll see you guys next time.